Good.
All right, let me see here. Oh, sorry. It is telling me pause for a sec. And we've got all right. All right. Welcome everybody. Welcome to another Tactical Tuesday. We've got a beautiful guest with us, Boba, tonight from Solo, Ontario. So, we've got an interesting topic tonight, something that a lot of us have been following for a really long time, and we get to pick the brains of someone who, has been at the forefront of this for a long time. So small ownership landlord Ontario, Solo, you go by, Boba?
Yes.
Yes, welcome. So thank you for joining us today. There's been some exciting changes and we're gonna hear all about them tonight. Hey.
Sure.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so what is Solo? What is that?
Well, as the name stands out, it's a non-profit organization. It's a self-help association of small mom and pop landlord. The one starting on the real estate ladder, starting by renting your basement or buying a duplex and then go to a triplex. And they have no voice. Most of the lobbying group are for big corporation, the one that has, say 600 doors, 700 doors, they have a property manager. So we created that organization and now it's 8,500 strong all across for the province. It's been
Yeah,
only 5 years in existence. So what we do, we assist a small landlord. We help them out. We send them to the resources like yours if they are looking for education. We do not give any legal advice because we are not lawyer or paralegal, but we have a network of professionals that can help them. If they need legal advice, we can refer them to paralegal. If they need some financing, we can refer them to corporation. If they need collecting, the money, we can refer them to collection agency. But more importantly, we give them moral support. When you're a landlord, basically, I'm sure you learned that, Tiffany, that
yeah,
you're alone. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
nobody's there to help you when you have an issue. If you're a tenant, you're alone. Even your friend and family, they all think you're rich because you own property. So,
Or you're crazy.
oh, you're
So they don't feel
crazy.
sorry for you either way.
Exactly. That's why we call ourselves solo. You're alone.
Oh, okay. I love that. Oh, I didn't make that connection. Okay. So small ownership landlords basically coming together so that instead of having, individual voices, you have 8,500 voices strong,
Yes. Yeah.
working toward better rights. Now, tell me, why did we need better rights? And we all know this. Anyone who's been investing across Canada, we know Ontario's always been tough, but why did we need better rights? What are some of the things that you would experience as a landlord in Ontario, let's say from your tenants?
Well, as we said you can see the poster behind here, we are looking for fairness. Ontario has been very tough because of the way the law is written. It gives a little bit unbalance between the landlord and tenant, while normally a landlord and tenant should be partner. As a landlord, I want to have a good tenant, a tenant that's going to pay on time, that's going to take care of the house. As a tenant, I want to have a good landlord. If there is an issue, he will fix it on a reasonable time. And most landlord and tenant relationships are just like that, very amicable. Personally, I never have a horror tenants. I hope, touching wood, that will never happen. So what we are asking is fairness, and we are working hard behind the scene on public, trying to make the government understand this is not either or. It's not going on one way or the other. So we are looking for fairness, and we will not let it off. We are an official lobby group within the provincial government. We've been registered
Oh,
with
wow.
the Integrity Commissioner. We met the premier at least 3 times. We met the minister. We met the high-ranking official. We organized a lobbying luncheon at Queen's Park, which is the parliament here in Ontario. We even organized some, I mean, not promise a demonstration to let us voice known because sometimes people forget we small landlord are the bedrock of affordable housing. We small landlord are the one giving chance to disadvantaged group like people on public assistance or financial assistance or newcomer or young people. If
Yeah,
you
true.
go to a big corporation, it's very hard to pass their screening because they are very tough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's true. And we're the ones that actually shake the hands of our tenants, know their names, meet their kids, their dogs, we're actually in touch with the human side, which is
correct.
beautiful. It's beautiful most times.
Yeah.
So now in Ontario, there's this Bill 60 has just passed. And so I'm in Alberta, as you know, but lots of those in Fearless, lots of our clients, our friends, our
Mhm.
investor community are in Ontario. So what is Bill 60? And are we happy that we got Bill 60 passed, or what is it?
Bill 60 called to bring back some fairness. It's like an omnibus bill. It has a lot of others implication, and there is one only small portion that refer to housing, landlord and tenant relationship. So what Bill 60 does, it's trying to discourage bad actors. Right now, some bad actor on the tenant and sometimes on the landlord side, they use the delays within the landlord and tenant board, which is the only tribunal which is allowed to adjudicate dispute between the landlord and tenants. They use the delay to literally stay rent-free to the landlord places. So Bill 60 has introduced certain changes. The most important change is, for instance, if you own a property and you want to get your property back because you need it, it's your property. Let's say you go to Alberta to work and now you're coming back. Meanwhile, you have rented the house and you want your house back. Now, as long as you give 4 months, 4 months advance notice, you don't have to pay 1 month. Until now, you have to pay the if you want to get your own property back, you have to pay 1 month's compensation to the existing tenant who can.
If you can get it back,
Yes,
if they agree to leave.
if they agree, yeah. Even before you start the process, you have to give them that thing. So they have reduced the time between when the landlord issue a notice of non-payment. The form is called N4. In the past, you have to wait 2 weeks before initiating a process either to evict or asking the tribunal to pay you. Now it's only 7 days. So that's a small improvement. And another important change they made is when a tenant who is in arrears wants to bring some, let's say, maintenance issue, he has to have paid at least 50% of the arrears, which is a big deal because in the past, even now, only the landlord and tenant board can evict somebody for non-payment. So while
Right.
the process is dragging on,
Yep.
arrears start bringing, and at every hearing, the what we call the professional tenants, they always
Yeah.
something new, something new, something new, which is not related. When you apply for eviction based on non-payment, you are only allowed to talk at the hearing for the non-payment. So some tenant bring additional issue to change the to change the narrative. So they eat a lot of tribunal time, and
Oh,
it get postponed. So
oh, interesting.
yes, it get postponed, and once it gets postponed, the arrears start to keep building and building and building. So now the new Bill 60 says that you at least have to have paid at least 60%, 50% of the arrear. If you owe
Okay.
50,000, you have to have paid at least 50% to bring anything. It's common sense. If the landlord doesn't get any doesn't get any
Money.
rent, how can they do the maintenance? Even though
Yeah.
the law obligate the landlord to keep the maintenance even if rent is not paid.
So, and that's awesome because I just recently heard of this story where there's this single mom, she's got two kids, she went through a separation, couldn't afford to live in her house,
Yeah,
moved out, rented it out,
yeah,
but now she can afford to live in her house with her kids.
yeah,
Um, but to get it back, she's she's been in tribunal for 2 years because there
yeah,
keeps on being all these delays.
yeah,
And one of the issues was that they just kept on saying, yeah, well, you haven't fixed this, you haven't fixed that. And she's like, I don't have any money. you
exactly.
you are not paying rent. How
Yeah,
am I supposed to fix this stuff? But
exactly.
because of that, it would get delayed. So that makes sense what you're saying. Okay, so some key things here that we're seeing. For one, there are some timelines that have been shortened.
Hmm.
For two, there has been some equalizing of tenant and landlord responsibility. So
Yeah.
that's big. We know that we have some well, I'm just looking at some of the comments here. We have some investors from Ontario, and
Hmm.
I know that they're, concerned about these things. So those are good things. Are
Hmm.
we are we seeing now a shorter timeline then for tribunal? Like whereas before it used to take what, 10 months to kind of get figured
If
out?
the tenant is unfortunately smart, know how to play the system, it can go 18 months.
18
Oh
months.
yes, oh yes. If they know how to play the system, you if you apply today for non-payment, you have to wait 2 weeks. Okay. Usually, most small landlords are not that sophisticated. When the tenant doesn't pay, they don't know the process. So usually, you try to call the tenant, hey, you haven't paid me, or you're gonna say, oh, I'm gonna pay you next week, oh, I'm gonna pay you that. So they can drag it on, let's say a month, and then when the tenant realize the landlord realize the tenant is not willing to pay, now he start getting information, and that's why most of them come to solo, and then we tell them, well, you have to, through the process, or if you cannot do the process by yourself, you have to hire a paralegal. So basically, by the time the first non-payment happen, to issue the N4, usually most according to our statistic, it's like almost 1 month, 2 months, because usually we ask them, how long hasn't you paid? Hasn't paid me for 2 months. What did you do? Nothing, and because he doesn't know, right? And then
Yeah, we don't.
two
Yeah.
months you issue the N4. So on the
Yep.
old law, that's 2 weeks. You have to wait before you apply for eviction based on non-payment. So you are a
Right.
month and a half. So the landlord issue file the L1, which is the application for eviction for non-payment. In the
Yeah.
past, the wait time to get the hearing was 6 months, 9 months, 10 months. And thanks God that has been reduced now, but still up to 3 months.
Okay. And that's
So
just been the last couple of years that has been shortened with the LTB just doing more to putting on more
yes,
whatever hearings.
yeah, we keep pushing them.
But even
That's not
3 months.
normal. So that's
Like
all right.
I'm from Alberta and I've been a landlord here for 25 years. And
Yeah.
for me,
Hmm.
if I heard 3 months to
Hmm.
get to my hearing, I
Hmm.
would be like, what is going on here?
Yes,
What
yes,
on earth? Because I'm
yeah,
used to, like 5 weeks maybe is
yeah,
like the worst I think I've seen. So I
yeah.
mean, yes, it ebbs and flows, but okay, so we're down to 3 months. We're
Yeah,
happy
now
with
to
this.
3 months. So now,
Okay.
you're dealing, Tiffany. I'm your tenant. I know the system,
Yep.
and you're new. You're naive. You trust me because when I showed up to you, I was wearing suit and I was smiling. I was giving you my, my either my sub story or I give you a fake reference. It's my brother who is my previous landlord. You're new, you
Yeah.
don't know, think everybody's nice. You're a good Canadian. So now we're in the 4 months. I'm at my hearing. So to me, it's very straightforward, right? If I go, he hasn't paid, he has to be evicted. So on the day of the hearing, there are, let's say, 25 cases. So this it's hard to start from 8 to 4. It's online. So case number one start quick. Number two, number three, the tenants start arguing. I can't access I can't access the my Zoom. My computer doesn't work, or I can't hear, or this and that. So that kept drag on, drag on. It's 4 o'clock. Your case hasn't been heard.
Next date or a new
Next, it's
date.
a stay, so you have to be rescheduled. So another 2 months. Let's say you're lucky, and I'm a professional tenant. I don't show up. Okay, you get your your order. The order can take up to 2 months for the adjudicator to do that. So now you talk about in the 6 months range. Once I
Right.
receive the eviction order, I just file for a stay. Oh no, I didn't know. I didn't know I was I have to go. I didn't receive the hearing date and bring all kind of excuses. Automatically, it's another stay. They have to reschedule again. And I will
Yeah.
explain, okay, I didn't know, and now the landlord is not paying, he's not fixing this, he's not fixing this, he's harassing me, she's, all kind of things. That drags on, drags on. Now you're in month 10. Let's say I've
Yeah.
tried everything, and then I get the final order from the landlord and tenant board.
Yeah.
Now I have to go to a sheriff to execute the order because I cannot physically, only the sheriff can physically remove a non-paying tenant.
Right.
Guess what,
Okay. Yeah.
Tiffany? Guess what, Tiffany? In GTA, where the majority GTA is Greater Toronto area, in Peel region, which is adjacent to Toronto, the wait time for the sheriff is 13 weeks.
Wow. So there you
So,
go. Another 3 months.
yeah, another 3 months. So in 12 months, I have stay to your in your place without paying any penny. And there's nothing you can do about that. So you get the order for me to pay you, let's say 25,000, 25,000. I'm on a social assistant. You cannot collect any money because you cannot garnish that.
Oh, really? You
Or
can't garnish social assistance.
if I work, there is another trick they are using. Before the hearing, I file for bankruptcy. There
Oh,
is no
wow.
debt, so there should be no eviction.
Oh boy.
So,
Unreal.
so I will. The professional agent they always target small mom and pop landlord. And then
Yeah.
I've stayed 13, 15 months without paying any rent. And guess what? I go and apply to the next one.
Right. And do it
Rinse and
again.
repeat. We have documented cases of landlord who have done that for 6 years, over
Wow.
4 different landlords.
Wow.
So our organization went to the
Unreal.
police to explain to
Yeah.
them, this is no longer landlord and tenant issue. This is called fraud. And fraud
Fraud.
is a criminal
Absolutely.
code. Oh no, we don't
Absolutely.
have the time. We are busy dealing with the drug dealer. So, go back to the LTB. So
Right.
we are educating. We have a team, what you call a fraud team, that are trying to help small landlords who have been victim to that to lay their own charges. So it's really bad.
It is. And you know
And
what?
Bill
Like even
16
just
won't change
some of the
much.
comments, like some of these comments are like my heart is just pounding even listening to this. One of our Ontario landlords, it's such a one-sided system with tenants having the loudest voice. For those of you that are well, actually any of you guys, have you guys heard of Solo? Put a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you haven't heard of Solo yet. So it sounds like it's a thing that if I were investing in Ontario, I would definitely be affiliating myself because I would want to know what's going on and have the ins and outs, my finger on the pulse. Right, Teresa? This is insane. Like it is really insane. So the beautiful thing is that there's been some changes. So we're glad to hear there's been some changes. Okay, I haven't heard of it till last week. Good. Okay, that's a yes. That's a no. Okay. So what are some of the things? So definitely small landlords now are positively affected by this, which is fantastic. And I'm sure you've worked really, really hard to
Yeah.
push that forward, and not just for yourself, but for the 8,500 voices that you stand for and that you have the privilege to represent, which is a big responsibility. So thank you for taking that, because I know that's a big responsibility to carry.
Mhm.
What are um, so we've talked about what the eviction timelines were. What are you seeing with this new change, what they should come to, and then how much further do we have to go? I mean, I would think that a couple of months is a reasonable timeline to get somebody out. Most of us in Alberta are used to that.
Mhm.
We don't love it, of course, but it's pretty reasonable. So where are we at timelines wise now, and where will after this bill, and where do we need to get to?
Yeah, there are two more issues that have been addressed by this bill. Now, for persistent non-payment, the law has to define what the persistent non-payment of rent is. So in the past, it was at the discretion of the adjudicator. So now the law is going to explain exactly, how much
That's
time
nice.
when you miss the rent on that. And the appeal decision too has been shortened. As I explained it to you, people appeal for any silly reason. That's been, shortened. Instead of 30 days. I think it's now 15 days to appeal any decision. So you won't have to buy them. When it comes to the delay, we have to admit the delays have been reduced. The worst case was during the pandemic when they shut down the landlord and tenant board, and they banned literally no eviction, whatsoever. So that created
Right.
a backlog
Okay.
that took years. The backlog is still there. So right now, I can say if you follow the procedure by the book, or you have a paralegal or a lawyer will help you, you can get an eviction, physical eviction, within 6 to 7 months. Which
Okay.
for somebody from Alberta will be what? Is that what you call an improvement?
Right. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
However, after what you just said before, I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, this is good. This is progress, so that's
Yeah.
good.
Mhm.
Um, and okay, I'm just gonna say, yeah, listening to some of these comments, some people had not heard of you. They are out in Ontario. They'd like to know how to get in touch with you. We got down, okay, so solo.ca.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
where they can find you. Solo.ca. So
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I hope that people get in touch with you, because I think the more voices that we have together, the stronger we are. What stops you from just changing the locks and keeping them out? Somebody asks.
It's illegal. Only the landlord and tenant board can order a tenant to, only the landlord and tenant board can evict a tenant against his will.
Okay. So,
So
and
you
I will
can do
say
that,
in
but it's
Alberta,
illegal.
the same is true. In
Yeah.
Alberta, the same is true. But
Mhm.
yeah, we do definitely have some, I think a little bit more freedom in how that all
Mhm.
comes down. Okay, are there any changes in paperwork or compliance? So you mentioned using, and guys, I will say that I always recommend, like in Alberta, if we want to do our own, RTA hearings and that sort of thing, it's
Mhm.
pretty straightforward. If they've broken the law or the act, the judgment is generally for you. Like, it's pretty straightforward. However, in
Mhm.
Ontario, we've always recommended use a paralegal. Now you're
Yes.
saying that you have some specifically that you can recommend, which is fantastic.
Mhm.
Is there anything else that's new that an investor should know about with Bill 60 that they now need to do that they didn't do before, paperwork wise, compliance wise, anything like that?
Bill 60 has another component that we approve and we work hard to get it. Is transparency. In the past, the landlord and tenant board refused to send their judgment to Canly. Canly is a platform where all the tribunal decision across the country, court and everything, should be sent. So,
Okay.
we live in a democratic country where, justice has to be transparent. So
Yeah.
every decision should be there. So basically, if you evict me, if the landlord and tenant board order me to be evicted, it's a public information that should be available to anybody.
Yeah.
So the landlord and tenant board refused to send regularly. So basically, you can deal with a tenant that you don't know has been evicted.
Yeah. So then they, like what you were talking about, that tenant that did it for 6 years, they could move on and live rent free in probably nice places
Nobody
for
will know.
years on end, and
Yeah,
nobody would know.
nobody will
Wow.
know.
Wow.
Except some of our members try to counterattack. They set up their own platform. They ask everybody to bring their own judgment, their own order to them. So there is a databases that are privately run where
Right.
you can screen your prospective tenant in order to see if they have been evicted.
I remember that. Okay. What was that called?
One is called Open Room. He's one of our member who was very pissed
Right.
off after going through that. Created her own her own
Yes. Open room.
Open Room. You
Yes.
have a landlord easy, and Bill 60 now is literally forcing the landlord and tenant board to publish their own decision, which is
Okay.
good. I
That's
guess the
positive.
same thing in Alberta, right?
It is public information. Yeah. It gets filed in the courts, and yeah, it's public information.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's what exactly said, small landlord are having an issue because you cannot know if somebody has been evicted for non-payment of rent. It's a public
Right.
information. You should know that.
Yeah. Okay, so some positive changes for landlords. I mean, big landlords, small, but it's us little landlords that can often get destroyed by these decisions. So
Mhm.
Andrew is saying that during COVID, and I think I remember this too, the premier said on the news, if you can't afford food, don't pay
There
your
you go.
rent.
Yeah. Yes, yes. That
I
was
I remember
beginning.
that. That's insane.
Not only
And the
he
thing
said
is,
that, but he shut down the landlord and tenant board.
yeah, like I just think about how often as a small landlord, how often did I have to choose, like, between paying my buying my groceries,
Mhm.
or because my tenant was late on rent and I still had to
Yeah,
pay that mortgage,
yeah.
and I didn't have groceries that month, and now if my tenant didn't pay at all, like, I can't, I cannot even imagine. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, that's
um
how we created the solo because we were so pissed off and everybody was complaining online. I just said, you know what? Let's not complain. Let's do something about it. And
So
we
were you a
started.
landlord? You were a landlord yourself?
I am a landlord. I'm still a landlord. I have two townhouses and one condo. And
Yeah.
touching wood, I never have any issue. And like many other small landlord, before creating solo, I didn't know much of the law. I'm sure I was doing something illegal because unlike Alberta, in Ontario, there is what they call rent control. You cannot
Okay.
raise as much as you want, especially unless it's a new building. So
Right. Yeah.
I didn't even know there was something called the landlord and tenant board. To me, if you don't pay rent, you just tell them to leave. I'm
Well,
lucky.
it's interesting. That's what somebody said was, well, can't you just change the locks? And then some of the comments have been like, oh no, you can't, you said no, 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 you can't. And he says, oh, I've done it before. It works just fine. Nobody complains because they know they're in the wrong, which is fine to a degree if you can get away with that. But
Yeah, I know
but
that's fine. We
law,
encourage
by
our member
law,
to follow the law, to follow always to
right,
follow.
you might get, and so that's what you're working towards, is having some of these things be changed. So those are three really positive things that have
Mhm,
happened.
mhm.
Again, I'm sure, there's been lots of work behind the scenes that has gone into that. You must feel very happy, and thank you on behalf of all of us. And I'm not a specific landlord in Ontario, but so many of my friends are. And yeah, so thank you for all the work that you have done. Are there any pitfalls to this? Like, is there anything that, like, as a landlord in Ontario, I'd be like, okay, this is good. We're walking in the right direction. Yes, there's still place, a ways to go in the journey. But is there something that maybe has changed that you think, oh, this is great, but it might turn around and bite us at some point? Is there anything we need to kind of have in the back of our minds?
What we suggest to prospective landlord in Ontario, if anybody wants to invest into the rental industry in Ontario, he has to educate himself or herself before jumping into that. Know exactly what you're getting into that. During the run up, until 2022, where there was an increase of property value by literally 10 to 20% every year, people were
Yeah.
thinking that will never end. It was like, so many people went sometimes encouraged by a realtor. Oh yeah, I just buy the house and rent it. It's golden. So when things turn around, interest rate went up, and migration is being curtailed. Most people are in big financial trouble. So we suggest to people to educate themselves to know Ontario is not like any other province. It's one of the least landlord friendly. How to educate yourself? You can go to the landlord and tenant board. You can check the different platform, or you can join solo. The beauty with solo is free. We don't charge any membership fee, and we have fantastic volunteers working behind the scene. They will share their experience with you. We have a private discussion group. So, everything you've gone through, somebody has gone through that. And
Yeah, right.
we are the only organization that offer live, toll-free support to landlords. People can pick up the phone and call us and tell us a story. Again, we don't give any legal advice, but we're going to tell them, okay, this is how you should do. You should retain a paralegal, or you should join our platform asking a question. Somebody who's gone through the same thing that you've gone through can maybe help you. That's how we climb up to 8,500 member as of today. And
Right.
every
In only
single
5 years.
yeah, every single member is vetted. We want to make sure the person is an actual landlord. So we are not looking for a number. We verify the information. We check if they are property owner.
Because
So sometimes
underneath their
you
info.
have a professional tenant trying
Oh,
to sneak and try to spy on us. No, no, no. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That
So
makes
we have
sense.
volunteer that check everything and do it. We organize
Okay,
webinar.
so it's free. Like, it's free. You
Yeah,
hear that?
the
Ontario
keyword.
landlords, it's free.
Yeah, it's free. Yeah,
So
exactly.
that is amazing. And somebody asked, so people jump on and off these lives, and then lots of people watch on the replay, just so you know.
Mhm.
So someone was asking, what is the name? So I'm gonna let you say it. What does solo stand for?
Small Ownership Landlord Ontario Inc. We are federally nonprofit organization registered at the federal level. You can Google us and find everything about us. And we are official lobby group with the Integrity Commissioner in Ontario.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, people are saying like, woohoo, that's great, yay. So that's awesome. So okay, so document or pitfalls in the back of our brains right now. It seems like it's good. Like, what we see is what we get. We're happy with the changes.
Mhm.
Yes.
No, we are not happy. To me, it's a small step. We are looking and
Yeah.
asking for more. You take it and then you ask for more. Our biggest ask, and we're gonna meet some of the minister next year, next after the holidays. We want to reduce the backlog by streamlining all the non-payment of rent. 80% of the application are from landlord, And 95% of those landlord applications is for non-payment rent. Nobody goes to the landlord if he's not getting paid. People don't go there because they want to get their house. Sometimes they do. They don't go there because he's making the noise or whatever. So it's non-payment of rent. Before you
Right.
apply for non-payment of rent, you really have to have tried everything with your tenant. And you realize that the tenant is not willing to make anything. People do
Yeah.
arrangement all the time. I don't know about you. Sometimes my tenant said, okay, I won't pay you the first, I will pay you the second. People do that all the time.
Yep.
So our biggest ask is to streamline the non-payment of rent by not forcing the LTV to have a hearing for every non-payment of rent. It's a waste of the tribunal time. Right now, every single non-paying application at the LTB has to have a hearing.
Yep.
Hearing for what? There's nothing to discuss. You haven't paid rent. Like, can you imagine if you go to buy to rent a car and you don't pay? Well, they will take it. If you go
Yeah.
to the gas station, you don't pay. Well, basically, they're going to call the police because it's theft. If you go to the supermarket, you may be hungry. If you don't pay, you basically. So we want to make the government understand rent theft has to be, it
Okay.
shouldn't be
So
encouraged.
I'm gonna be devil's advocate, and I'm
Okay?
a landlord, okay, and I
Okay.
have been for 25 years. So but let's
Mm-hmm.
say I've just been diagnosed with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not working, but
Mm-hmm.
I've been a good tenant. I've paid all, the last 20 years. I'm not professional. I just literally cannot pay my rent right now. And I want to go to the tribunal and I want to just ask for some grace or whatever and a payment plan or whatever it might be. I'm one that at my hearings I've always generally been willing to do a payment plan, and my tenants and I show up when we're there as friends and we talk and we walk into the room together and the adjudicators go like, who's the tenant here? Oh, okay, weird, you guys are talking like most people are fighting. I'm like, no, we're just here to get this put on paper so that we both have some, responsibilities and commitments to stick to. That's all. So what about those cases where it's legit? Sometimes it happens. Now, 95% of the 80% are non-payment of rent and probably choosing to be. But what about those guys? How would we deal with them? If I'm the government, I'm going to say I also have to protect my, little people too. So what about that?
Okay, yeah, we hear that all the time, but that's putting a burden on the small landlord to be a social service officer. There is
I
something called
know.
rent bank. Every municipality has a rent bank. If you have
Yeah.
some trouble, you go to the rent bank and you have what? If you have no job or nothing, you go to the social assistance. There is one section of the allocation they give it to you. It's called shelter allowance. And guess what? Some of our tenants who are receiving the shelter allowance refuse to pay. And there is
Yeah.
nothing you can do about it. So
Yeah.
basically, yes, I understand that you some have some problem. Maybe if you can't afford the rent, if you cannot afford the place where you're in, it's common sense. You may look for something that's more suitable to your budget, or you can ask us any social organization, but not your landlord. Can you imagine me, the landlord, going to the bank, said, "Hey, I have cancer. I cannot pay my mortgage."
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but it may be inhuman, but it's not the job of the small landlord to be a social service. We have for that. We have institution to do that. We have organization, we have churches, we have all kind of organization that can help you. Don't ask the tenant, the landlord, to basically be your bank.
I love the answer.
Yeah.
I love it. Good answer. What's that? Wheel of Fortune? Good answer. No, no, no. That's a Family Feud. Good answer.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, okay, so I'm just reading some. So Roman, if you are in Ontario, this is solo.ca. He says the tenants advocates are winning the battle. We need to stand together. So sounds like there's another good person
Mhm,
for you guys to talk to.
mhm.
Ford publicly legitimate
Mhm.
non-payment in COVID. That's insane. Anne says, is there any thought of trying to get the rent cap to equal the inflation rate? Hmm.
Okay, I know in Alberta you don't have rent control. In Ontario, there is a rent control for building were built before November 2018. So if you let the market works, you look at these two
November.
jurisdictions between Alberta and Ontario. Alberta has a free market, and the rent is lower there than in Ontario. Ontario has strict law how you can increase the rent, especially for older building, and the maximum you can increase is 2.5%.
Yeah.
How
It's
much property taxes went up for the last 10 years? How much interest on mortgage went up for the last 10 years? How much grocery? How much gas? How much labor for the plumber, for the electrician?
yeah, I was just gonna
You
say
cannot raise
painting.
more than 12.5%. So,
Yeah.
like, what happened? People get discouraged. They said, okay, this is a tough environment to work in. I'm not going to be landlord anymore. I'm selling my property or I'm leaving it empty. I'm going to invest in Alberta. I'm going to invest in the United States. And that reduce the supply. And the demand is still there. That's why for the last 10 years, the rent keep climbing, 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 climbing.
So I was reading some papers, different University of Waterloo, I know had one, and just different
Hmm.
whatever
Hmm.
universities that have these kind of theories and thoughts on housing and stuff recently. And one of them was, talking about how, it's exactly that. Like these are the things that change housing supply,
Yeah.
and these are not the things that are being focused on. So you're also in agreement with that, I take it. So what are some of the things that you think would change that? Because I do agree, like in Alberta, I know there's a lot of Ontario landlords that, in
Mhm.
fact, I will tell you, I built my whole portfolio
Yeah.
on going out to Ontario
Yeah.
and saying to Ontario investors, I'm in Alberta. We have no land transfer tax. We have a fair
Yeah.
RTA. We have,
Yeah.
and I would get them to invest in Alberta with me. That I built my whole entire business on
Mhm.
just that platform. So
Mhm.
obviously, lots of fear out there.
Mhm.
What would you say then to Ontario landlords? What do you think will actually make a case for them to stay in Ontario's market?
Mhm. Yeah, the good news is it's a very lucrative market. If you're in that business, you had some common sense, especially before 2022. Anybody who bought any property, whether it be personal or for investment, has have a an increase in value for the last 5 to 10 years. That's the reason why people are. It's a good market, and I'm very optimistic. The economy, Ontario being the engine of, industrial Canada.
Well,
I'm
and
sure.
even this immigration, when immigration changes, Ontario changes. It's been that way forever. Most
Exactly.
people that come to Canada land in
Yeah.
Ontario, and that directly affects housing. So we know that there's lots of good and
Yeah.
stable things about Ontario for sure. For
So any
sure.
investor should basically, as I said, educate themselves by joining solo, among other things, and screen like your life depend on it, which actually it is. You have to screen, you have to follow your guts, you have to make sure that the person who is in front of you, you have to use all the tools that are available. You have some screening tool like a single key, like Neighborly. All of these you have to screen because once you hand the key to the tenant, it's very hard to get him out. So most people they realize when they're in trouble that the screening process wasn't good. Don't listen to the realtor. Don't use a realtor to rent your place because most of our realtors here, they don't know the Residential and Tenant Act. They mostly know how to help you buy or sell your property. But when it comes to renting, you know that. And have a question. Knowing that a non-payment of rent can take up to 8 months right now, it can be lower, it can be higher. You have to have at least that much money staying there just in case.
So if my rent is 5 grand a month, I've
Yeah.
got to have 40 grand sitting in a bank account somewhere
At
so
least have
that
access to it.
at least have access to it. So, or a line of credit or some way to survive without rent if you
Yes.
needed to.
Yeah. Because
Wow.
if you
Yeah.
don't pay, yeah, you have to go through the LTV process, and you don't control that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay.
that's very important. And
Yeah.
like a regular checkup, visit, preventive maintenance. We have absentee landlords who are, basically just expecting the check to be, coming to them every month. So without putting any time on it. If you don't have the time, hire a property manager. It's going to cost you some money, and just do it. And if you have any trouble, if you want to start a process, if you don't feel comfortable, don't try to save money by trying to do it yourself. The landlord and tenant board in Ontario is there to protect the tenant first and foremost. It's written in the act. It's to security of tenure. So they are not your friends. They are here. They will look for every single excuse not to evict because that's their mandate.
Do you think that's
One,
changing?
no, it won't change because
You
housing
don't think that
crisis.
now that they're seeing the mess that it's made and the housing crisis that continues to be there and the rents that continue to go up despite all of these things that they're trying to, you don't think that they're going to start seeing and perhaps letting some of those things go? Not really.
No, it's a political decision. You have more tenant voter than landlord voter.
Mm, okay.
So choosing between them, there's no,
Interesting.
there's no discussion.
Interesting.
And they don't want to be
Interesting, Andrew.
seen.
Mm,
The politician, they told us, some of them told us, they don't want to be seen as helping a rich landlord. So we
I
have an
know.
image problem. We have an image problem in Ontario because, and I can be proud to say, Solo helped change that narrative. In the past, all the media thing was regarding landlord was a bad landlord. He hasn't fixed the house. He's throwing out the single mother or the handicap or whatever. So we managed to make our own campaign by contacting the media, the newspaper, the television, to say, that, hey, there's another side of the story. It's actually there are more landlords, especially the small landlord, who are suffering for bad tenant. So if you Google solo landlord, and you're gonna see on CBC, on global TV, on the Toronto Sun, all the story about actual landlord who are being victim of their tenants or who have been victim of the slow process of the LTV. Well,
It is interesting how that is definitely more coming out way more. And says, yes, we are all so rich. We're billionaires, she said.
yeah, exactly,
Right?
exactly. While they were partying, we were saving, we were trying to work hard. No, we didn't get
Right?
this property by chance. We work hard for us. So when somebody comes to try to literally steal my hard work, it becomes something personal. And that's where
Yes.
Solo help those people because when they call us, they
Well,
are desperate. They have nobody to turn to. Just to
yeah.
have somebody listen and understand in them, that's
Right?
a lot of thing.
That's half the battle is just that moral support, like you said. Like, I love
Yes.
how you said this is what we
Yeah.
do this, but actually we're there for moral support because
Exactly.
community and
Yeah.
having people that go, you know
Yeah.
what, you start saying your sentence and they go, oh, I know, and they
Yeah.
don't even
We've
have
been
to
there.
finish.
We've been
Right?
there. Yeah. We've been
That
there. Yeah.
alone just
Yeah.
makes you makes it human. So
Yeah.
Tommy's out in Vancouver now.
Mhm.
He's investing in Edmonton right now, I know that, but
Mhm.
in Vancouver or in BC, do you know of any similar organizations to yourself? Because BC is also tight. It's not as tight as Ontario, but it's tougher. But
Yeah.
do you know anyone out that way?
You're asking me?
Yeah. Do you know anyone in
In
BC
BC,
that
actually, we
does
do have
like,
some discussion with other landlord organization. But I do know every province has some thing similar. I'm sure there is something in BC. but we have some of our members lives in BC and have a property in Ontario, or reverse,
Okay.
used to be in Ontario and they move into BC. And
Right.
yes.
Okay. Well, so maybe you can uh, connect people that way. So,
Mhm.
okay. So now this, do you think that this is going to impact the rental market? Do you think it's going to actually change if they do these things? Do you think that the rental market is going to actually improve for both tenants and landlords if some of these things that you're hoping to go through do go through, such as no hearings for non-payment of rent? What is there to talk about? You didn't pay your rent. That's it. So do you think that would help change things housing wise in Ontario?
Okay, for the automatic eviction is not there yet. Bill 60 is just for the first time in the last 5 years we are in existence. There is a change in the legislation that try to balance the landlord and the tenant relationship. So it's a positive signal to the small landlord community. So they understand
Yes.
now the law, the provincial government is trying to stop the abuses.
Yes.
If you have a good tenant, that will never affect you anyway, because most of the tenants are good. They will pay on time. They will take care of the house. So Bill 60 will not change anything for them. You will never have
Yeah.
to go to the LTB. But this bill, this law will change the narrative. So the professional tenant will now realize, I cannot abuse it as before without some repercussion. But we're going to still lobbying the government, the provincial government, to go further by mandating that non-payment of rent, which is our biggest single issue, has to be adjudicated within 45 days maximum. And there are way of doing that. We are going to make them some proposals, and we've had changing the law just by deciding how to process non-payment of rent. That's our biggest issue. That's our single biggest issue. Listen,
Okay.
Tiffany, if I have if I'm a corporation, I have a building with 500 doors, 500 tenants. If one doesn't pay, it's 0.5%. I can't wait the 6 to 7 months, right? If I'm renting a duplex, one tenant doesn't pay, 50% is gone. If I'm renting my basement and to supplement, my mortgage or how housing is expensive in Ontario, and the tenant doesn't pay, 100% is gone.
Yeah.
So we make a proposal to the government to change the definition of the the landlord. You have to make a
Yeah.
difference between a small landlord and biggest landlord. Small landlord has to be treated a little bit different. So hopefully they will listen, but we are not
Yeah.
going away.
We're not going away. I love it. I love you know what? I really love how you like you say things like they are. Like you're very straightforward, which I really appreciate. But yet you're just human about it and you're not demeaning about it or like, oh, they need to do this. And you're even emotionally, but you're very like, okay, this has to change. So someone asks, do you have a summary of the things that have changed? I think that's the question. What are the changes? Can you summarize that as we head out? Also, guys, for those of you that have just jumped on, Solo is the name of the organization. It's Small Landlords in Ontario, Small Ownership Landlords of Ontario. It is a free organization. Feel free, solo.ca. Feel free to contact them for sure. They are, obviously working for good things. So, do you have a summary? If you could wrap it up in what the changes are that benefit small landlords, could you wrap it up into maybe three? Those three, I think you already said it, but maybe we can repeat for those who've jumped on late.
Yeah. Yeah, what have changed since Solo came to existence is the way the narrative has changed. As I said in the past, landlord bad, tenant is always right. Now
Yeah.
you see every day, every now and then, you see a story about how a landlord has been abused by a tenant using the existing. We have nothing against the tenant, nothing. Our problem is with the process. If the process doesn't work, people will take advantage of it. So this loophole has to be created. And then
Right.
the other thing is we created a community. People come to Solo for free, and they learn a lot by other people's mistake, unfortunately. Because when you read on the discussion, okay, this guy hasn't paid me, and then people ask, how did you vet the tenant? Oh yeah, my realtor sent it to me. Did you check the credit score? Did you check the references? Oh, I didn't know. I trust my my realtor. So you learn a lot, and we have people who are very, very, very knowledgeable of the people. And we have created a network of a professional. If you need legal advice, we have a trusted paralegal. We make sure that only the best and landlord friendly are in there. Basically, we vet them the same way we vet our member. And we have for collection, we have for, as I said, financing, we have all kind of network that can help a small landlord. An organization like you for profit, you can access our database. You can make a webinar explaining what services you're offering, and it's going to be up to you to make the last call. We have 8,500 documented, verified landlord in Ontario, all over, from Ottawa to
And
Thunder
small.
Bay to yeah.
That's
And
the
we don't
best
define
part,
a
right?
small. We don't define small. If you consider yourself as a small, we take it as it is. It can be your basement. You can have 100 doors, but usually we have a very, very good team. Excellent volunteers, people who are very knowledge, because most of the small landlord it's their second income. Most people have something else to do. So we have engineer, we have IT specialist, we have developer, we have a trader, and also very interesting because we're in GTA, we are very multicultural. We have literally all languages you can speak of. So we have some older landlord who are new to the country. They are not comfortable in English. We have people who can volunteer to explain to them in Hindi, in Persian, in Arabic, you name it. So we are a movement. We have raised funds to help landlord in needs, or we even have what they call eviction party. Somebody was waiting for 18 months to get to the final thing.
Oh,
So
yeah,
the day of the eviction, we will come to help, I mean, to assist them emotionally because it's very emotional.
it
Somebody's
is
telling you,
emotional.
it's very emotional, like it's like a betrayal.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah. So we can
absolutely.
come and help him clean it up once the sheriff evict the person and they realize they're not alone.
I love this so
Yeah.
much. I
Yeah.
so love this. And
Mhm.
I think there's little groups that do that, here and there or whatever. Like, there's some in Edmonton where we've done that. It's like this landlord is in need. So we all just show up in our scrubs and we just
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, but 8,500 all like combined and like, hey, here's a call out. Like that's pretty
Yeah.
sweet. Okay. I love it. I would love to have you back on another time.
Mhm.
Um, those of you again, solo.ca. So
Yeah.
reach out to Booba and thank you for all of the work that you do. Thank you for your information.
Thank
You're
you.
going to stick around with me for just a couple more minutes. We're going to jump into Ignited and you can meet some of our Ontario landlords face to face here on Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Um, for the rest of you guys, we are doing RV University next week. So there is a RV University, they call themselves. It's a couple older guys, super sweet. They talk about owning RV parks and what to do and what not to do. I've had their courses for years. It's pretty neat, Booba. If you want to join us next week, you're welcome to. It's really cool how they say like, like, oh, we've been doing this for 40 years. This is terrible and this is great. They're really funny. So anyways, thank you guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us and cheers everybody. And we will see you soon. I'm going to try to stop this thing. Hang on.